Alright, we're going to get ready to button up the bottom end here, put our valve body on. But one thing real quick that I wanted to touch on, if you do have to adjust your front end plate, this is the washer. This is just a reman stator cover as an example. Here's where the washer goes. You can get this as a selective thickness. A lot of times they come between 87 and 92 thousandths thick from the factory. You can get like a 104, a 117, even up to like I believe it's a 127 off the top of my head, thick washer to take some of your end play out. And you could put everything together right and still have excessive end play, because sometimes, you know, parts wear. If they had to remachine a pump at some point, an old rebuilder may not have changed out and done the end play. A lot of people just slap them together, you know. So is it something, I mean, check the end play. If you think it's excessive, it probably is. If it's extremely way the hell out in la la land and you can't get a washer to take up to get it under like 18 thousandths end play on the front, then tear the whole thing back apart and see what you forgot to put in. Or definitely consider there might be a hard part that's excessively worn that you missed during inspection. Alright, that covered. Here I've got my locating dowels in here again, and I'm just going to leave this at this perspective, so to speak, so you don't get dizzy with the camera. There's 6 check balls in this particular one. 88 to 91s came with 7 check balls. I may have referenced that earlier. On this model, we're going to put in 5 check balls. Even the ATSG manual says omit the 3rd gear check ball, so that's what we're going to do. On this one, we're going to use all 5. You only need 2 critically. Come here. Now, if you would come here, there we go. You only need 2 check balls critically. Right here, which I call a modulator location, and aft next to the rear servo cover, there's like an oblong, looks like a giant Tylenol groove. This one, if you forget that check ball and you go on low 1, it'll start locking itself in reverse. Very bad, especially in demo derby. This one will just make the modulator go haywire. As long as you have those 2 check balls in, the transmission will always function. It may not shift the way you want it, but in a full manual racer's transmission or something like that, this is pretty much the only 2 you ever put in. But for what I'm doing, I'm going to go 3, 4, and this one is for 2nd gear. This is 2nd gear servo is what I call it. Nope, that one went in the wrong spot. See, there's 2 right next to it. That's 3rd gear. That one is accumulator. There we go. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I'll move this just real quick so you get an idea. This is critical. This is critical. This is the one you can always omit. That's the one I put this. I had those backwards. This is like low 2 band, and this is 2nd gear shift. Now the reason I'm putting this check ball in is because I'm metering the amount of oil going to 2nd gear shift with my valve body modifications. Let's put this back up there. I just wanted you guys to see that quick. Let's see here. Whoa. Alright, now we're ready for our case to spacer plate gasket, and there's 3 gaskets you get in a kit. Sometimes they're all the same color, sometimes they're not. This one, these 2 are identical for the most part, with one exception. One's got a stripe, one doesn't. The one without a stripe is for 88 to 91, 7 check ball cases. The one with the yellow stripe, sometimes it goes this way, just one faint yellow stripe. is for the 87 to 64 cases. And this is the one we're going to use because we have a 6 check ball case. Now, don't get confused when you see 2 of these and then 1 of these. Like right here, you'll see this. You see there's 2 holes here, and then there's an oblong thing here. Well, this is where that rear check ball I was just telling you about would lock itself up. If you get the brilliant idea to put this gasket on top and the other one on the bottom and toss this one out, here again, your transmission will start locking itself up in low 1 into reverse and burn the hell out of your direct clutch. So don't do that. This always goes between the spacer plate and the valve body. This one gets tossed in this situation, and this one goes between the spacer plate and the case. I had to learn that the hard way years ago. So we're going to put in our low 2 band actuator, like so. We've got our check balls in. Let's double check again. Always double check your check balls. Always check your balls. There's a joke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're in the right locations. Yeah, there is a pocket down below the low 2 band. That's not for a check ball. So we're going to go ahead, line this up like so. We're going to go ahead, take our spacer plate like so. Now, at this point, now that I have the alignment valve, see if I got one here. Well, I don't have one handy. This is where I like to put your kickdown valve on. This one has a diaphragm on the bottom, so to speak. Looks like this. This one does not need a metal gasket. There is another one that you will see on older transmissions. It's a bright metallic aluminum one, and it'll have, for some reason I don't have one here, but it's oblong. It'll be oblong like this. When you get your kit, you'll get that gasket. That gasket is for that oblong, all shiny aluminum kickdown. What this is your electric kickdown to blow off oil to kick it from 3.2 and 2.1 under high acceleration. And then there's usually a switch either up under the dash on the accelerator, or like as an example on older Cadillacs, they actually had a sensor right on the side of the quadrajet sitting up on top of the intake. But this style, you don't need to use that metal gasket. You only need to use this on the older style servo. And when you see it, if it doesn't look like that, it's the older style and you got to use that gasket. So we're just going to go ahead and put that right there. And these are all 1/4-inch bolts. Sometimes they're headed 3/8 drive, and sometimes they're headed 7/16 drive. These are 3/8 drive. Got them started. And what we're going to do is, what did I do with it? What did I do with it? Well, it's here somewhere. Here it is. As you're tightening this up, we're just going to kind of run these in. Now, even though you have your alignment dowels, you want to make sure the gasket is centered, your bolt holes are centered, because they're just kind of a rough guide. In this situation, the ports can be off by just a hair and screw you up. So what you're doing is you're going to use your kickdown valve. You're going to just get this exactly where you want on your case to spacer plate gasket and get it exactly where you want and snug these up. Now you're holding half your gaskets in. At this point, you can go ahead and plug it into your kickdown plug like that. Also, if you get these and this wire's like brittle and snaps, shit can it. Go get a new one. Don't mess around trying to save that. That you know, if it's, you know, why? You know, really? It's not that expensive. It's, like I said, it's not something you use very often, but... And we've got our valve body to spacer plate right there. We've got our modified valve body here. Let's not lose our selector. And you got to do a couple of things at once here. Now these tubes, these are your tubes that go to and from the governor. They interchange. They go in either spot. They're on the back of the valve body. And you kind of got to do a couple of things at once here. So you can see what it's going to look like, kind of like that. And we're going to go kind of, first thing we're going to get it on the dowels. Then we're going to kind of roughly put them lines in the ports where they need to go on the back. Come on now. There we go. Then we're going to get our selector valve lined up. And it'll kind of... And this corner right here will always stick up. Because this is your 2-3 accumulator